And we are live. How is everybody doing? I hope everyone is having an amazing Wednesday. For those that don't know, we moved off-centered from Thursday to Wednesday so that we're not competing with Thursday night football. Although I feel like a couple weeks into the season, there's going to be less and less people watching that Thursday game. But anyways, we're going to try to keep it at Wednesday night just to kind of mix it up a little bit, see how that goes. Selfishly, my buddy Flipping Steve decided to have a live at exactly the same time right now. So he normally does Monday nights, and he decided, I guess, just to go Wednesday nights. And I was kind of hoping I could watch his and whatever, but it is what it is, guys. We are here. I've got Brad on, and he's in the background there. I don't want to bring him on yet because he's going to talk for an hour straight. I'm not going to be able to get a word in. So before I bring him on, let's say hello to Ryan McClanahan, Stephen Ryan, Brian Sherland, Adventures with Troy, The Ethic. Oh, yo, this is Aaron. What's up, Aaron? Wyatt, what's up, little bud? Tube Nachos, good to see you. And Talatiga, what's up? All right, I'm going to bring Brad in if I can do it. And we're here.
Yeah, and I'm vertical.
Man, you look so, all right, there's a few things going on. First off, you're in like a tiny little square on the screen. So you're using a different medium, obviously, or a different camera or whatever.
That doesn't work
back there. There's all sorts of stuff in the background. Like, what's going on?
All right. So, well, if you're on my Instagram, you saw that I needed a new laptop. And if you guys saw the charity break I did with Coleman on Wednesday, for one, thank you for watching and participating. Second of all, my computer, I don't know what happened. Like, I restarted Windows 10 and everything. I mean, I completely nuked the laptop, and it just is so sluggish. And it was one of those things where the keyboard is kind of jammed, the mouse pad's kind of jammed. So I ended up getting a new laptop, and I haven't gotten used to Mac yet. This is my first Mac. So I just realized that there are no USB drives, regular USB drives on a Mac. So I need to get adapters for my microphone and my camera. And then I can't even open StreamYard and use it normally because I have to have Chrome. So I have to download Chrome. I didn't know I was going to have to do that right before hopping on. So on my iPhone, this is what you get. You should be grateful. I'm talking to Dustin. I'm only talking to Dustin on that one.
Yeah, everyone's watching. You should be grateful. Okay, no, I'm kidding. All right.
Just Dustin.
All right, so what's new in LA? It looks like you've added a guitar. You've got a few other things back there. The popcorn ceiling is still concerning to me with all the asbestos. What's the deal? What's LA life? How's it going these days?
I mean, it's fine. It's interesting. They're cracking down on certain things with COVID and having to have a vax card and stuff like that. But the reason why there's a guitar back here is because 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, it was October 2019. So August 2019. So just over 2 years ago, I moved in here after breaking up with my ex. And then I moved in with a friend of mine. And in this crash pad of a place that I've been in for 2 years, he moved out because he found a girl off of Hinge or Bumble. 2 years later, I break up with my girlfriend because I haven't seen her in 2 years. And she's across the world. And he breaks up with his girlfriend, and then so now he's crashing at the crash pad that used to be his crash pad for me to crash at. And so now we'll be looking for a place. So you won't be seeing this background for too much longer. Hopefully no more than another month to 6 weeks. But hopefully it'll be a lot more optimistic of a backdrop versus like a little card cave.
So what you're saying is LA living is amazing if you're okay in a studio apartment with 9 guys.
LA has its trade-offs, but I like being outdoors, and the card scene you can't beat.
That's right. Who needs girls when you're in LA? We've got sports cards. Ryan nailed it.
Hey, we got both. We got lots of both.
Oh, speaking of, wait, the girl that you had brought on your show, was she single or no?
The one for that one episode where I took her to the card. No, she's married. She's happily married. She's someone I worked with.
Oh, nice, nice job. Really, just trying to break that up.
She just happened to be a sports fan that I worked with, and she was genuinely interested in cards. Like I was like, you don't have to pretend. She's like, no, this sounds great. I love sports. I'm like, okay, all right, here we go. So yeah, she loved the show, and we're talking about bringing her back on because she's a huge Cowboys fan, and the Cowboys have played really well. And they lost to the Bucs, but it was a very close game. They could have won that. And so we're thinking of doing another follow-up video where we go to another card show, and she invests in her first Dak Prescott rookie card. So I think that'd be pretty cool. What do you got?
Fair enough. What about so Hinge, Bumble? What's been working lately, or not working at all?
Lots of conversations on both. It's always like new shiny object, and it like on both sides, where it's just there's always a new match, a new something. So the challenge is always getting to the point where it's a date, because you got to like progress very quickly, or you just get bored and then there's a new match and then you just kind of go there. But I mean, look, LA's great because they say dating in LA is tough, but it's tough because there's a ton of options and there's always new people. So I guess that's a good type of tough.
That's fair. That is fair.
Are we going to talk about cards at some point, or just?
Yeah, I'm going to move right to this rips to slabs. All right. Did you both read the Wall Street Journal article about Fanatics? So I didn't read the article, but I did see, I think maybe it was Neo that did a video on it. And I did watch his video. I thought that it was really well done, just kind of like going through the highlights of the article. But essentially, if I have that right, it was talking about how Fanatics sports card valuation just for trading cards alone was $10 billion plus. Now, I don't know I didn't read enough to know like who did that valuation. Is it like a random research company? Like where did that number come from and what is it based off of? Especially considering Fanatics isn't they're not doing it yet. They're not going to be in like really heavily doing it for another 3, 4, 5 years. So I don't know how much to really. I kind of take all that stuff with a grain of salt, but. Yeah. But it also wouldn't surprise me either if it was correct, So I don't know. Did you see that one, Brad?
I saw an Instagram post of that headline without reading into it, but I feel like valuations aren't very thought through, and a lot of times it's more for just like good PR. And who knows what's going to happen in 3 or 4 years, where maybe sports cards are way bigger, but we're in this huge recession that we should have been in already. And maybe cards are widespread, but they're not worth as much except for that super high end stuff. So I'm like, yeah, you have a number on you now, but isn't that the whole complaint with a lot of these companies anyway? The startups all have valuations not based on actual performance, just based on projections.
Yeah. And I think that, in that article as well, it talked about, it reiterated the belief that they want to be kind of that one-stop shop where it's like manufacturer, grader. And one thing that got, I think, attention is they want to kind of own that secondary sales market, or a lot of it, which belongs really to eBay for the most part. And then you've got Star Stock and you've got, ComC and some of these other ones, and then, Facebook groups and whatever. But, it sounds like they kind of want to be that one-stop shop, kind of like the Amazon of sports cards, which probably has pros and cons to it. I'm sure there's probably some things that would be really great. And then other things, of course, people are going to talk about monopolies and this and that and whatever. And then I guess it also comes down to like, are they going to start their own grading company, go that route, or are they going to buy like BGS or SGC, and make that into Fanatics grading or whatever? That's all stuff that we'll have to kind of see how that plays out.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of options. And then what's NFTs going to grow into? I mean, now that was another topic, is the NFL NFT. What's the name of it? Napier or something? Sure.
I didn't see the official name of it. I just saw the headline that it's coming.
Yeah, I got on the waiting list. Let me see what the name is, just so I don't get that wrong. And to share it with you guys in case you want to be on the waiting list. Dapper.
Oh, so, yeah. Well, I mean, Dapper is NBA Top Shot as well.
Okay. So I'm looking at the email, but I think that is tied to, it'll be the NFL's version as well. That's what I gathered. But I mean, Again, there's so much in the next couple of years. I don't really take too much stock in valuations, because what's NFTs going to grow into? What are sports cards going to grow into? How are they going to merge? Because there is some sort of overlap where they could merge. Other collectibles. What about memorabilia? Just straight up memorabilia. So I don't know if that valuation included all these other things, or if it's just
Right.
sports cards. But regardless,
well, it said
like
trading cards. But yeah, is it? I mean, it said trading cards, but does it also include like NFT trading cards and whatever? Like, how are they?
I mean, to me, I'm like, whatever. The valuation has to be higher. It has to be on par with what Panini and Topps and whatever is. I mean, look, what was Panini's valuation? What was Topps? And then you add them together. Isn't that pretty much what Fanatics is?
Yeah.
So that's a very simple calculation. Was it 8 billion and 2 billion, something like that?
Oh, no. I think Fanatics was coming in more like 18 to 20 billion.
Okay.
And, yeah.
But this was before or after the acquisition?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I don't have all that.
We talked about this.
As the acquisition happened, there was all the speculation like who's Fanatics, and I didn't realize at that point it was like they're an $18 billion company. But I kind of thought that it was an $18 billion company buying this now. Like adding this. I don't think that it was kind of including it.
Right. Same. Okay. So if 10 billion is cards, I forgot what Topps their valuation was and what Panini was, but regardless, it's all just giant numbers, big business, and nothing we can really put a finger on for a long time. It's not like next 6 months, next year. We're too far down the road, and what other acquisitions or mergers are going to happen? They're going to happen, but again, every week we can talk about that.
The one thing that kind of gets my attention with NFTs too is the fact that the young people now are getting games, and I'm not a huge gamer, but especially the new stuff. I play the retro stuff, the old stuff, but like the new stuff, I have no idea what's going on in that space at all. But what's happening is instead of buying, expensive games, people are getting like free games, but then all the upgrades costs to upgrade or advance in the game. So you literally have like kids that are getting a free game that are spending $1,000 on upgrades on one game, like Fortnite. Fortnite is an example of that, where it's like they're buying all the suits and the helmets and whatever the upgrades. They're spending like a truckload of money. But to me, that's where like, you could see where that could, like, that particular generation could be like, into NFTs with games and all the rest of it, because it is kind of like NFTs within games essentially.
Man, I gotta say, growing up, businesses were not nearly as smart as they are now, because now it's all about luring you in with that free trial, with that free app, that Marvel's game, that Marvel versus Capcom. I mean, there were apps. What's up, Chris? Good to see you.
What's up, man?
Chris is actually Chris is the one that told me to get on the Dapper waiting list and to check that out. So, yeah, I definitely did that. But as a kid, it's like you buy the video game for $50 and you think that's a lot, and then you get 2 years worth of use out of it, and that's it. And now they're so smart because they have a great game. They just want to get you hooked, kind of like a cigarette or some sort of drug, where they get you hooked and then they get you hooked for free, but it's so limited that you just want to pay for that upgrade, for that next level. And then all of a sudden, $5 here, $10, $20. Then you're on that monthly service. Every month it's $50. Every month it's $100 or something. Man, they're smart. I'm just saying, like, I don't fall for that because I understand what they're doing and I won't reward it, but it's clever.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Good question here. What percentage of the general public do you think is even aware of the hobby? I think it's, aware of what a sports card is, probably a fair amount, but actually aware of what is actually going on and ins and outs of it. I think it's a really, really small percentage of the general public.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think so too, because even people I talk to, guys that are in business, that are in things where I'm like, you may have heard of it from a friend. You sound like someone that you're in social or like you're a social entrepreneur, you're an online marketer, you're something where you might have heard it from Gary Vee, or you heard it from Dan Fleischman, or someone in your circle, some voice in your ear would have said, hey, sports cards are big, they're back, whatever. And still, I am shocked. Very few people that I talk to that I really think would be aware are completely clueless to what's going on. So general public, if you say male, female, 10 years old till 90, in America, I mean, 5%. That's just a number I'm throwing out, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
really low. I would say really low too.
Well, look, 10% of Americans would be what, like 38 million Americans.
Yeah, it's
so
not 10%.
so, well, 10% is 38 million, right? If it's 380 million Americans, so I'd say something like if 38 million, if 19 million Americans know the hobby is this big, I think that's a lot. 19 million, that would be somewhere around 5%. So maybe like 3% or 4%. Who knows?
I was watching a YouTube video the other day. It's from Alex, Global Sports Card Investor. I think it's called Sports Card Radio, and I'm nearly 100% certain that they were giving you crap, Brad. Well, I don't think that, Brad is a pretty easy target, frankly.
Yeah. That's okay. I'll take the PR.
I mean, we laugh about Brad in our house, and we're just a small family out here in North Carolina, let alone like the rest of the internet.
Dustin got a piñata of me made for his son's birthday.
Well, I'll just say, Alex, there's a lot of haters out there. We're not worried about any of that. We're not worried about any of that.
I'm surprised that you get any hate. Like the fact that anyone hates you.
Oh, I got a comment the other day. It was hilarious. I think I actually might have put it on IG or one of them, but it was basically like, "You're the Mr. Rogers of sports cards." And I thought that was, and he was like, "You should actually get like the theme song. Like you should get the rights to like that, like intro or whatever, like the Mr. Rogers song." And I was like, that is actually really hilarious.
I did see that actually. Yeah, I think I saw it on your IG. and then, that's right. I said, yeah, you're the Mr. Aaron Rodgers. Like you're a diva.
Except I can throw a deep ball better than Aaron. But anyway. What's going on, center fielder 7? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Chris, he can't even spell form correctly.
Got this shirt on sale. It was a defect.
Is that, speaking of Brad and I, well, I can't speak for Brad, but I think I'm inching closer to a Fanatic sponsorship. It's coming. I can feel it. I can feel just some positive energy with all the buying that they're doing. It's sad though, because every time I've talked with them, had like conversations, they're like, it's just that weekly show that you're doing, that guy you're doing. We're not quite sure. We want to throw millions at you. Look, I mean, we want it to happen, but we're just unsure. So anyway, guys, that's where it sits. We'll take a poll on whether or not we should move.
And StreamYard's about to end their sponsorship, their multi-million-dollar sponsorship of your show.
All right, Brett, get us back on track. What's everybody buying? That's a good question. Brad, are you in buy mode, sell mode, hold mode? Do you have any modes right now you're working?
I am in declutter my life mode. And so,
Lord.
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. I want to be moving soon. I have a lot of transition going on. And the time I would have bought would have been July for basketball season, because that's when the prices were really low on the cards I liked. Now, as we get closer and closer, I'm not as interested. However, one period of time I will look at is November, the first couple weeks of November, after basketball season starts, and there's hockey season and there's football. And the reason is because last year, I remember thinking to myself, prices are super low in November, but the second Thanksgiving is over with, everyone is in holiday spending mode. So if there's anything to buy, if there's anything I wanted, which there is, it's just I want to like liquidate. I don't want to. I want to sell everything right now so I can rebuy. It sucks just selling slowly, but I'm slowly getting rid of some of my inventory from PSA as well as the football cards I bought that I wanted to liquidate before the season started. However, first 2 weeks of November, I would check prices, and the reason why is because I think a lot of people will stop buying in the first couple of weeks of November, knowing that they have to save up for the holidays. And I saw that last year. I don't know if that's the exact reason, but I think that's one of the reasons. So if prices are low first 2 weeks of November, there's a chance that that same card could actually go up 20% or 25% or whatever number by Christmas time, just because people are saving their money for holiday season, and then maybe a kid gets an eBay gift card, or that they want that card as a gift, and that's when they're going to buy it. So that's just the window of time that I really want to pay attention.
What do you think about, one thing I'm really curious about, and this is just collectibles in general, but do you think that we'll get the same sort of push? And I'm not saying that, like from a pricing standpoint, last like January, February was rocking, I mean, like January, February, early March. Do
Yeah.
you think we kind of see something similar? Like, do you think that'll be a trend, or was that kind of a freak thing of it being like, pandemic, funny money type stuff? Or is it like tax season, like tax return season and people getting, they get past the holidays and they've got, they're spending again? Or what are your thoughts there?
I don't feel like it'll ever be the same type of highs that we had before. And the other reason too is if PSA is getting through 180,000 cards per week, something like that, even if the money is entering, more and more money is entering, it's just getting diluted between a lot of cards. So I think that's also why we're seeing the very rare cards, right? Like that 1% of the 1% of the 1%, that, BGS 10, the Jordan PSA 10, the RPAs, that stuff, I think that's going to continue to climb. And a lot of the other stuff is just going to be diluted because it's just going to be 3,000 of a card this go around versus 1,500 this time last year. So maybe the money is flying in during those periods. We just don't see it because it's just the market cap of the card's way too big now. And, we're not going to see spikes. It's just going to be
I think
even.
I think the hobby too is smarter. Like I think that a lot of people that have been in it for 6 months, even 6 months, 12 months, not that long, are starting to see things for what they are. And I do think that we will see a lot of like the dollar, the dollar bins where you're looking at dollar cards. I think there will be, and we saw it at the National too. We saw like $5 slab bin, $10 slab bin, but there's going to be a lot of, I think, for the stuff that's rare, stuff that's numbered, stuff that people want, I think that stuff will probably be fine. But there's just going to be a ton of like prospects where it's like what you said, like there might be, 10,000, 15,000 on the pop report. And that stuff will just be kind of, it kind of reminds me of like the, the Keith Shore Griffey Project 2020 card. That was like the one card where, it was kind of like humming along. And then that Keith Shore Griffey was at like a print run of 99,000 or something, or 100,000. And, and so that's when people paused and was like, oh, okay. Like they're actually like, there's a lot of those. And I think there will be a lot of like, certain players of, base rookie cards or whatever, where people were just sending those off at $8, $10 each. And now they're obviously not going to be able to do that, but that's going to be stuff flooding back, to where that's going to be ignored. All that stuff is going to be sitting around somewhere.
I mean, yeah, the good thing is like, the cards I did send, they were under that $12 a card price, except for the first submission, which I accidentally selected $20 a card, but it panned out well because I got it back at the perfect time. But I mean, all that stuff where it's just like a PSA 10 of Bol Bol or second year Trae Young Prism base cards. What's that? I mean, like it turns into a $15, $20 card where if you sent it in bulk, you probably broke even or maybe made some money, but you're definitely not making those, not making $100, $200 a card. I mean, even my strategy and everything going forward, I'm working on a video right now. In fact, I'm trying to think which one I released today. It's been a long day. The one I released today, because I have two that were kind of overlapping, but just my strategy going forward and how you have like cards that are good for gambling. And then you have cards that are more of like the alternative investment class where it's really looked at as art. And then there's like this in between where it's like good for collectors, but you're still trying to figure out the pop and all that stuff. And I think the gambling cards, the Prism Silvers, that's the stuff where I'm going to probably not do again. I'm probably going to go towards like maybe even fractionalize. I don't mind looking at Collectible or the others and just seeing what is out there, how much I'm paying, because man, to be a part of something that is really good, even if you overpay at first, if it's a quality card, that's still better than, getting a card that just you're crossing your fingers someone out there cares about. Yeah.
I will show a couple of my pickups here recently since we were talking about what's everybody buying. So I've been looking at, and you guys know this if you watch my station, but, like rare auto kind of memorabilia cards. This is Otto Graham, who has the same amount of championships as Tom Brady. FYI, Cleveland Browns legend Otto Graham, and it's got a game-worn patch right there, that little circle, and then it's got, of course, like, you know, a pretty cool auto. I mean, the green marker maybe you don't like, but I kind of like the inscription style stuff where it's like best wishes, you know, or whatever. I like that. You know, when they actually
can you put it up to the camera one more time, a bit closer?
Yeah,
just because this is taking up like such a small part of my iPhone. I like it. So when was that autographed? Is there any sort of idea when that was actually signed?
I don't know that part. Yeah, I mean, the card is it's a 2012. It's from 2012 National Treasures. It's numbered to 5.
Who's the other person? Brad?
What do you mean?
Is that 2 names? Oh, Best Wishes. It says Best Wishes.
Yeah, yeah. But I kind of like the personalization on it. You know,
I like it. Yeah. No, I like that too. That's cool. I think that's way more special than just the name.
And then this is a rookie card for Otto Graham, PSA 6.
That form looks atrocious.
The what?
That form looks atrocious.
This looks like Brad throwing a football.
I'm like, dude.
And then he threw a 90-yard strike to his receiver.
I was gonna say he looks like he has like a 14-second windup, like he's gonna get sacked.
Hey man, the game's changed. The game has changed over time. So I've also been buying like LT because like the GOATs is the greatest defensive player of all time. So you've got, you know, game worn patch, and then you've got this one is a sticker auto, but you know, graded. You know, and the price point on these is nothing. It's not crazy. You know,
so what's the price you're paying on these?
Price point on this one, I believe this was $175. $175. It's got the patch. It's not numbered. It's not. Oh no, it is numbered out of 56. His jersey number. National Treasures. So yeah, I mean, for whatever reason, football is just not even in the same world as baseball and basketball with this, like with a similar card. You know, I mean, it's crazy. So I like football stuff.
Are you looking at? You're still doing video games or no?
Yeah. But I'm focused entirely on just black box NES original. So there was like 30 games that the original Nintendo that they released, and they're black box games like Duck Hunt and Super Mario Brothers. That's part of that 30. So I'm just zeroed in on those 30. So yeah, I'm still buying those, but I'm picking and choosing and being picky about it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What about any non-sports cards?
I have not bought any non-sports cards. I know we have Stacking Gems is one of our guys, has all the cool like Marvel PMGs and all the cool Marvel stuff. I keep on hearing more and more about that, you know, non-sports and Marvel, but I just haven't done much with it. I just feel like there's too much out there that I want. You know, it's just like another thing. So I haven't touched it.
I have a question for you, but also the audience. What is the next, or who's the next Marvel or DC superhero to really emerge, as in a movie? I know we have Venom coming out, but and that kind of reminded me of it. Is there another superhero that, and I know Black Adam, played by The Rock, will be out at some point, but is there another one that you would keep your eye on, just as a superhero that has the potential to really be a mainstay, like maybe introduce themselves to us and we really latch on because they're played by a great actor or actress? I'd be curious about that, because then I'd look into those cards. It's just like Iron Man. I did not care about Iron Man before Robert Downey Jr. I thought he was like, okay, he's fine. He's same as the others. I don't really have an attachment. But the way Robert Downey Jr. played Iron Man was like, okay, this guy's the man. Iron Man is the coolest. But if he was played by someone else, he'd probably just be average. It'd be like, oh no, I'm a bigger fan of Hulk or Chris Evans and American. I was going to say American Ninja Warrior, but I know that's not his name. Captain America.
Yeah.
Not American Ninja Warrior.
I think my issue though is like if we're talking about Marvel stuff, because I also collect comics, you know, the old comic stuff. It's like I would much rather buy the old books than buy like a card. You know, it's like where I see some like potential value is like the DC movies outside of that recent Joker movie that came out that was really popular, but like Warner Brothers has kind of botched their DC stuff. Like the Batman, the Superman stuff is kind of like, like it's not like Marvel stuff. You know, Marvel stuff comes out and it makes $1 zillion. You know, that Joker movie was like the big hit that they recently had, but they've been missing on the DC stuff. But the older books, like the older like Silver Age books going back to like the 50s and 60s for like Batman and Joker and the Riddler and all that stuff, that stuff graded. And those are 70-year-old books of like classic characters. They're really, you know, the pricing is not crazy for those, you know. So it's like instead of buying a card, an expensive Marvel card or DC card, I'd probably go back and get, you know, a comic book.
Yeah, and that actually makes sense for that genre where you think of that's the origin, right? I mean, it came from the comic book, right? It started with comics before it was any other card or movie or cartoon, correct? I mean, the origin was, here's this character, we're going to put him in a comic book, right?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah, and that's what the comic book space, that's what they do. They spec on like which big villain, which big hero is coming up. Like, you know, which one are they going to have? Like, there's been a lot of speculation on Galactus and the Silver Surfer. So like for the comics, it's like, it's Fantastic Four 48 through 52 are like those first appearances. And the prices have gone like ballistic over the last few years because they're waiting for Galactus, you know, to be introduced as like the next big bad guy or Silver Surfer. You know, Fantastic Four to come back, you know, another remake.
Oh, yeah, that was horrible, the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Jessica Alba. I mean, I've always liked Jessica Alba.
Same. It's hard not to like Jessica Alba.
She's awesome, yeah. Anyway, I remember watching that show, was it Dark Angel, back in the early 2000s? That was her breakout. I was like, oh my God, who is this woman? I'm in love. But anyway. I'm looking forward to an X-Men. I want to see who's going to be the next Wolverine. But I loved the X-Men movies, and especially Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. I loved all those movies. But anyway.
Yeah, he was built for that one for sure. All right. GD's talking about Patrick Bet-David was on Joe Rogan talking cards this week. Worlds colliding is always good. Maybe get UFC card love. Yeah, UFC card love. It was funny because Joe Rogan, I watched just a bit of it, and Joe Rogan was clueless on it. He had no idea, you know, that cards were even, you know, a thing. I mean, he knew about what they were, but he didn't have any idea what people were buying and selling them for. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Yeah, Joe Rogan has the biggest podcast on the planet. So, yeah. I mean,
and it's kind of crazy that Joe Rogan, who's very well connected, knows all the top entrepreneurs, knows all this, still... That's so, I mean, and he's in the UFC as a commentator where UFC cards are becoming big, and he's still pretty clueless. And we're talking about what percentage of America knows about sports cards as big as it is right now. And Joe Rogan, who has every big person in his ear that he wants, still was not very well aware. So that's great. I mean, to me, that's awesome. That means a lot of upside.
Yeah, I hope so. And I kind of wonder, too, if Joe Rogan was maybe just kind of playing like he didn't know, so that Patrick Bet-David would just kind of explain his – because I just find it hard to believe that Joe Rogan hasn't heard of like the big sales and everything else. Like he pays attention to stuff. I mean, he could. At the same time, there hasn't been a huge UFC sale that I know of. Also, his world in terms of numbers, it's like a $5 million sports card compared to whatever $100 million Spotify deal he has and the other giant things he's talking about. I don't think, unless he's into cards, I don't think he cares, because it's still like, it's like he's talking probably $10-20 million deals quite often with some of the conversations he's having. Yeah, this is a good comment. Bill says LT was greatest player he ever coached, and that's Bill Belichick. And I remember recently too, and you know how Bill Belichick is like, you know, doesn't say a word at the press conferences or gives you very little to work with at the press conferences. And somebody, I remember a couple of years ago, the Patriots were about to play. It was either Khalil Mack I know he was with the Bears. He had already been traded to the Bears. And a reporter asked him like, hey, you know, do you think that Khalil Mack, you know, looks like, you know, LT? Like he kind of like, does he remind you of LT as far as skill and everything? And Bill was just like, no, not even close. I just thought that was kind of funny because normally that would be like locker room, you know, you're giving the other team kind of, you know, motivation, but he just straight out said like, no, Khalil Mack is nowhere near Lawrence Taylor. You know, it was kind of funny.
That's cool. I like that transparency, even if it's unhealthy.
All right. There was a question here that I missed. I'm trying to get back to it. It wasn't this one, but it's funny. The Griddler, Dustin making breakfast.
You know what's a shame is that there's this place in LA. It was called The Griddle, and it's in West Hollywood, and they would serve these monstrous, like 12 or 14-inch pancakes, a stack of them, to the point where, like, most people have a third of the stack and take the rest to go. And it was amazing because it was literally like $14 for a plate of 3 pounds of just sugar and flour and deliciousness. And unfortunately, they had to close because of COVID. But it was one of those awesome hole-in-the-wall places where you might see it on a Travel Channel show. But anyway.
Brad could be Wolverine, according to Tube Nachos. He's definitely hairy enough to be Wolverine.
Yeah, definitely got the hair. Still got to work on the muscle mass. When I'm hangry, I can have that attitude, that very animalistic attitude when I'm about to break my fast and it's going a bit late. Yeah.
You could be like just the leaner, more gangly Wolverine.
I do a lot of long distance jabs.
Yeah, he kills you with that jab, man. He kills you with that those long arms.
I mean, it's going to be a long, drawn out fight, but eventually I'm going to tire you out.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, GD's waiting. He's waiting for the snacks to come out.
It is. Yeah, I was going to say that was like a legit question the first time. I didn't know if the original comment was the cow comment was a while ago, and I just missed it.
It's funny. Are you buying 2021 product with increased price and increased production? Honestly, I think Brad is in the same boat. I can almost speak for him. Like, neither one of us really buy new product at all. Like, we're more like, well, he's bought and you bought sealed wax, and I don't know if that was new product or was that older?
It wasn't new. No, it was new. It was old. Yeah. It was old. The only sealed wax I bought is 2013 football, and that was a good segue because I sold one of the boxes on my slabs. So, I mean, this was $120. This is what I paid, $120. And the reason I got it was because it was only $120 a year, and I think it was like June or July of 2020, and it was $120 each. And this is when first-year Prism was through the roof, and I was thinking first-year Select might be along with riding the coattails of Prism, and so I got this because this was first-year Select of football. And I never listed it, and then I listed it earlier today on my slabs for $270, $280. And I was like, whatever, let me just throw the number out there because I have 10 boxes, and it's sold within minutes to a breaker. So I'll list the next one higher, or I'll look on eBay for comps. But I mean, like, sealed wax is becoming more and more of a interesting investment. And I talked to Coleman about it, and Coleman's in the same boat. This was on the charity break last week, where the biggest learning lesson, the most painful learning lesson, is just how outrageous some of these pop reports are getting, and how you can pick the right player and the right card and the right grading company, but if the supply just doubles in a matter of months, then you're not going to be able to move it for a profit, and you might even lose money because you bought early, you bought the right player, but now there's 2 times the amount of listings on eBay, and now supply and demand level out. And with sealed wax, that's one of the investments that you don't have to worry about going up. But that's also why fractionalized shares of something that's very, very scarce is intriguing me more as well.
Yeah, have you gotten into the fractional stuff? Have you done any?
I haven't gotten in, no. And I mean, the big concern is, like, how much am I overpaying? Am I going to be overpaying a decent amount, or is it, because they got to make their cuts, and it's interesting. I think I just want to make sure that whatever I buy, it's actually something desirable. It's actually something desirable versus I hope it's desirable. And if it's like a new player that I'm just prospecting, then that's different, because then it's like, hey, I want to be right. Let me do my research. This is my gamble. But on cards that I really want it to be a sound investment, I just want to make sure that it is Michael Jordan, it is Kobe's autograph, it is like Magic Johnson's PSA 10 rookie card, or something where I know, if the market crashes, like if the economy tanks, the super wealthy will still be wealthy. And those are the people that could buy these cards. I want to know that they're still interested. There's still money there, not like the average person that, all the cards are being put on credit cards and all of a sudden they're going to get wiped out. And the $500 Prism Silver PSA 10s drop to $200. Like, that's more what I'm concerned about.
Yeah, for sure. Are you, I was going to ask you something and I lost it. I was looking at another comment and I forgot what I was going to say.
Dude is pissing himself right now. I had my smoothie earlier, so the kombucha is only 16 ounces. I'll be good for another 20 minutes probably.
Moving forward, are you more likely to go kind of that sealed wax route? Because I actually I've got a few kind of boxes I've been looking at, a few products, because I haven't done that yet. I haven't done kind of the sealed wax thing, but I'm like, that actually does make a lot of sense. For certain products, certain years, I can see why people do buy, and hold sealed wax. Are you like, compared to singles? Like if you're like, okay, I've got an influx of cash, I'm going to go in and buy, like, would you mix it like between sealed wax and singles, or just go do single stuff?
To me, it just depends on what I feel more confident in. And before, even singles and sealed wax, I didn't know how to really research it and find that level of confidence of, okay, I see where the prices were. I see where the prices are going. I could look at this whole draft class. I could look at these cards. I'm better there. I think the cool thing with sealed wax is if you make a bad purchase, you could still rip it open and maybe like get lucky. Like if it's actually, you buy something for $1,000, a box for $1,000, and it goes down to 600, and you're like, damn, I want to liquidate now. You could always be like, hey, if I tear it open, there's still a chance that there's a $1,500 card in there. Probably not, but I like the versatility of it. At the end of the day, I just want all the data and all the numbers to make me feel good. The difficulty, though, with active players, unless their name is LeBron James or Tom Brady, is that Tom Brady, LeBron James, they're just like, it's all like house money at this point. Their legacies are sealed. They're fine. If they win again, it's bonus. But if not, that's where I would feel better about the singles, is just who can still add to their legacy but not really take away. And with sealed wax, I just want to be I want to be sure that because everyone's talking about sealed wax now, I'm not getting in and then overpaying, because there's this like mad rush out for sealed wax and people are paying whatever price. So I just got to study it more. Like no matter what, I just want to look at the charts, see what makes sense, and then diversify.
This is a good question from Brett again. Nearly a month into the season, what's the opinion on the 5 first-round QBs for this year? So here's kind of the tricky caveat with this year's QBs for me is that I feel like this is the first year, like if we're looking at 2020, 2021 product, where you're looking at massive production runs, like in comparison to what you might have seen in 17, 18, 19, et cetera. And so it's like, even if you feel great about some of these guys, my worry is like, and we use Select as kind of that example, because Select is one where it was hobby only. Now it's retail. There's 100+ parallels. It's like, is that stuff going to be worthless, or will it hold up? But it's just like, for me, I can't touch any of that, because I would almost have to go like the national treasures route, like for some of these guys, if you felt good about it, but like timing it right, to maybe where, people are down on Justin Fields, for the Bears. Maybe the Bears are 0-8 or, 2-8 or whatever. And everyone thinks that Fields stinks, but you like him, you think that he's going to do something. That's typically how I prospect, but I don't prospect very much anymore at all. And not that I ever did, but as far as kind of those first round QBs, if you like to prospect, I think it's always best to stay patient. I see James's comment here, and Brad, you can speak to this too, but by Justin Herbert, he just beat Mahomes. He has a cannon for an arm. I would say that now is probably not a great time to buy Herbert, if that's the case, because now everybody is hot on him. It's like they were hot in the offseason. He's come out hot. It's almost like there's a lot of heat around Herbert right now. And so for me personally, just me, obviously, like, buy what you want. But for me, I'm a hold on Herbert until he has I want him to have if I like him long term, I want him to have a really bad cold streak. And then I'm buying during the cold streak.
I mean, or it's this. It's like, I want to see more of Justin Herbert, but I also want to see more of what the print runs and the actual numbers are too, because that's a huge part of it. If he has a great year and the Chargers, let's say, go 10-6, they win a playoff game, they're out in the second round, but he looks solid, then okay, the good news is that I can buy in the off season, and by the time it is the off season, I will have a better idea of what the numbers are of a lot of his maybe Prism Silvers or certain cards that should have been gone through PSA system. If I buy now while he's hot, even if he stays hot, if more of his cards come back, again, it could be neutralized. Like, the values can be neutralized. There's too many factors. There's like unproven and really popular and hot at the moment, and way more cards of his are going to come back. Now, maybe it's a raw card. Maybe like it's the time to buy Justin Herbert cards that are in great shape, that are parallels, and that makes more sense, because then it's like the video I had today on the cards that I think there could be a really good play on is that if you look forward to when PSA opens their next service, it's probably going to be somewhere around $80 to $100 a card, maybe something like that. Well, what card would be worth that price point to send in? And maybe it is Justin Herbert rookie cards that are around $80, $100 that you feel like you can get a 10 on, right? Maybe that's like stockpile those raw and then wait for that to open up, and hopefully a couple months, send them off, and then by August next season, you have PSA 10s of a very rare card of a young, good player. But right now, to get a PSA 9 or a PSA 10 of a guy that is hot and unproven, like, he has no legacy, he just has a lot of upside potential, but nothing to rely on. Knowing what we know about grading and all that, and how prices go up on new players, I'd rather not for now. It kind of eliminates a lot of the fun, to be honest, because it's fun just prospecting on these nice on these young exciting rookies and second year guys, but it's too risky for me.
One of my hobby buddies, Chris from Sportscard, collector, investor, dealer, he did a video. It was a popular video, and I understand why, because he uses Herbert as an example, and he's only looking at Prism products, and it shows he's got like 40 or 50 different parallels. So to Carlos's point here, it's like, get rid of Herbert base stuff, because eventually there's going to be a lot of this colored stuff that's graded, and there's going to be a lot of raw and graded. But that's the thing. That's kind of that weird, like the one thing I think about, and Brad, you can probably, I know you can relate to this, but like, it's like Shaq rookies. It's like when you look back at like Junk Wax era, Shaq's one of the greatest players of all time, but like, he's only got a few cards that are really worth kind of taking a hard look at, because like the Flair Ultra, they printed a zillion 92 Flair Ultra Shaq rookies and all the other rookies that he had. And that's my only concern about like 2020 products, 2021 products, is that you're just going to get into like a parallel monsoon. Not even talking about the base. Like, the base is like,
just might be forgotten about.
Unless you're just going to get in and out of base really quick. You're kind of like, if you have a flip plan,
like Star Stock or something.
Something,
for Star
Stock. But I mean, even you have to almost think of like parallels. In my opinion, I almost look at a lot of the parallels as like base cards, because they're so damn common. And there's so many of them. In this new product.
So my question is, if there's like 50 different parallels, and you want to go in on Herbert, or you want to go in on Trevor Lawrence or one of these guys, what parallels or what features or characteristics in parallels are you looking at to feel confident that that's a good parallel that other people would want? I mean, the first thing is like color match. Like, if it's a color match, it makes sense. It's going to look good aesthetically. But what else? Like, if there's 50 parallels and only 3 of them are color matches, and you want to find something else, is it just, this is a good complementary color, or is it now, like, what else are you looking at? Like, what else would be a qualifier for you to look at a parallel of a player if it doesn't necessarily look much better than
I think
all
for
others.
me, I think for me, I would probably really dissect to like the different sets. It was kind of like when we were looking at like Luka Doncic rookie cards. I bought a lot of Revolution rookie cards that were PSA 10s because frankly they were a lot less expensive than Prism. But
it's a good looking card too. I think it's a good looking card.
It's a good card, and actually at that a couple of years ago you could get the parallels. You could get like the Groove and the Astro, and a lot of those cards were very inexpensive in comparison to like Prism colored stuff. And so I kind of wonder if there's is it maybe I think for me I would look at like the other sets and are there scarce cards in those other sets that maybe from a price point perspective are just better better values or could be better values.
Yeah. I mean, without comparing and contrasting, that's where it would be interesting to see what people would think of. Like if it's only numbered to 99 or this color looks good with that color, or, like maybe it's not a color match, but the colors go together nicely. But yeah, at the end of the day, like what is an opportunity in sports cards? And it's always when something doesn't make sense, something doesn't add up. And that's usually when, well, if this card is $500 and this other one over here looks just as good and there's only 300 of them and it's the same price, well, then this one should go up because it's scarcer and looks just as good. And then usually that's what happens is like it's always like one reference point and then another card or another player adjusting to that reference point. So, I mean, then you just have to look at all the numbers, the sales and stuff like that.
Any thoughts on HGA? I've heard a lot of just different, the slabs or, there's issues with the slabs or issues here and there. I've never subbed with HGA. I don't have any personal experience with them to really be able to speak to it. I guess they put out a video tonight, but I have not seen it yet. So I don't know.
Please explain the video if you can, just like a premise of it. I'm very curious if it's just like a YouTube video of the headquarters or how things are done, or if it's something controversial. I'm really curious, but no. Again, when it comes to the investing side, the new grading companies are kind of like new product or new rookies. It's just so unproven that even going with proven grading companies and proven players and proven cards seems really risky. So I'm like, I'm not going to go with anything that's that adds the risk to it because I just, it's already too crazy for me.
I think too, when I'm looking at a company like theirs, I feel like there's already enough kind of value out there if we're talking about BGS and SGC on the secondary market. BGS 9.5s or SGC 10s. It's like for me personally, I'm not going to go out on a limb for like an HGA yet, just because I feel like if I want to find some value, I can find it with companies that are already out. Even CSG. CSG being a newer, and I know people don't like the green slab or whatever. I would rather buy CSG for me personally than HGA. And it's not a knock on HGA. It's just that those other companies, they've been around longer. CSG has not, but it's a part of CGC, which I'm a comic book guy. So I understand they're the big comic book grading company. So I trust them, so it's just about brand for me, brand recognition. So nothing against HGA. It's just they're kind of the new kid on the block.
Yeah, and brand recognition comes over time. So, like in 2 years, HGA will be like, we'll be talking about them like SGC, where they've been around for years and years, and they're still in that I'd say third spot behind Beckett and behind PSA. I will say, Carlos, for vintage, that I do like seeing vintage in SGC, and I think it's because the SGC slab kind of has that like museum look, like that old museum look. It's not trying to be trendy or young. It just has like that very classy, black, like luxurious look. I just don't like the size of the slab of SGC. I don't like the fact that if I turn the card over on the back, 50% of what I'm looking at is slab and the other 50% is the card. I like PSA's size where it's there. Like that's the big thing I have with what's your medicine bottle company that you like so much? It looks like a medicine bottle that you have you find in your grandma's bathroom cupboard.
I have no idea.
CGC.
Oh, CSG, yeah.
CSG. Yeah. Like I feel like they're saying, hey, don't look at the card, look at our label. It's like no, you don't want to look at the card. We want to be the center of attention. Look at our label. And I think PSA does a good job of at least the size not distracting from the card itself. The only issue I have is that red trim, and the red trim does not look good on a lot of colors, like a teal and blue and purple and whatever other cards, green. The red trim of the PSA label just clashes a bit too much.
So it looks like, and this is not, I mean, it seems to be popular now, the high resolution scan, and I'm assuming that that's part of what their process is they're scanning at 3200 DPI, I guess, to see like every last little crevice on this card, but you see that with Card Score, you see like these companies coming out there. There's a bunch of these companies. I believe Transparent Grading Company, one of the newer grading companies. I think they do something similar as well. So that high resolution scan seems to be a popular, deal. And I'm sure PSA does something like that as well. I don't know. Yeah, I assume that all these guys do. What are you laughing at?
I just saw a comment by JJ Bama. I like mosaic white ice parallels for white players.
I thought that was that like a Ice Baby reference?
I don't know, but I thought that was funny.
JJ Bam always coming in hot. Bluff their way through life. Good to see you, Bama. Good to see you.
Yeah, I'll have to check out that video because it looks like we have a couple comments that are good, and then some are more negative or just like, this is more of a joke.
Nigel,
good to see you, Nigel.
Nigel, you look like you're like wrestling alligators out there, but he looks like he would just like whoop everybody.
I was gonna say he looks like the guy that would beat Liam Neeson in a movie. Like he's the guy that would actually kick Liam Neeson's ass.
It's like the bad guy that ends up winning.
He's being a Mission Impossible.
These are meant to be compliments.
They are. Trust me. These are compliments.
All right, Joseph's talking about, I believe, the SGC slab. I could be wrong. I like the barcode on the back. They were the first with a random number tracer for PSA. The red border was to break up the all-white label. Oh, for PSA. Yeah. CSG slab is the same size as PSA. Label really isn't that much bigger in PSA. Looks that way. Okay, because of placement, font, and letters. I like the way that the CSG slab feels really sturdy to me. I like the CSG slab.
I haven't, to be fair, I don't think I've seen a CSG slab in person, but whenever I see a picture of it online, I'm like, my eyes are just drawn to the label. It's not even looking at the card.
I kind of agree with this, Carlos. AI is such like a buzzword. And when I hear AI, I just think about like Terminator robots, like looking at it, like scanning it with their laser eye, instead it's just like, ooh, we got a great picture of it. We got a high resolution picture, I think of Skynet when I think of AI.
Skynet grading.
Lawrence coming in hot. Anyone have any hot garbage sitting at PSA that you will have to pay for when they finally get graded?
One thing I was actually thinking about is I wonder how many people have cards at PSA that they're just going to let sit there because they just submitted crap. And what does PSA do with orders that aren't paid for? Because there's some people out there that have a bulk order, and I've sent bulk orders, but they're Tom Brady base cards. So I'm like, at $12 each, I'll be fine. But all the Prism second year and whatever cards where someone goes, you know what, I have maybe 10 or 20 cards in there that are good, and then I have 200 cards that are just worthless now. I should just walk and not pay. Like, I wonder I haven't looked up the policy, but I wonder what they do, and can they resell it? What do they do with all these cards?
Yeah, it's a really good point. It's like, what happens to do they just, what happens to stuff that's not paid for?
I mean, because it's kind of you can't really sell it with, it's kind of a conflict of interest, or it seems a bit weird to sell your own product that you grade, even if you're holding it. But what are you going to do? Crack a slab and then sell the cards raw? Give the cards away? Like, what is there just a warehouse of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of cards that people just let sit?
Well, we talk about like Slabgate, Slab, it's like the, maybe in the future it'll be like a warehouse full of slabs, whereas like 30 years ago it's like raw cards. It's a warehouse full of like just overprinted cards. It'll be like slabs in a warehouse.
Well, it'd be interesting the way they do the storage unit wars. If they did something like PSA did auctions on boxes of unreturned cards, and people bid on them, and they can't see what cards are in there. It's just literally, here's a box. This was 1,000. A submission of 1,000 cards, and bidding starts at $2,000, and maybe it just goes up to 3,000, and there's one good card in there, and the rest are like, bowl base prism rookie cards, PSA 8. What's up, Michael Ham?
Michael Ham, good to see you, man. I read that he's catching snook, living the good life down there in Tampa, snook fishing. That sounds like fun.
Nice. At first, I thought you were going to say snooky, and I was like, catching snooky.
He's catching snookies. Catching snookies. Yeah, he's doing both of those things.
Dude, should we talk a little bit about football since we haven't talked about that in a couple weeks? I mean, as in your Saints have totally Jameis Winston the situation where they go 5 touchdowns to losing and he looks horrible to winning again.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, so against the Panthers, we did not have Marshawn Lattimore, and we didn't have Gardner Johnson, our slot corner, and we didn't have 8 coaches, and we didn't have Michael Thomas, and we're one of those teams that's just like hit with adversity right out of the gate. So the fact that we're 2-1, I'm actually pretty happy about, because we're missing a lot of guys, frankly. So like the Panthers, I don't want to take away from them, but like we'll see them again at more full strength, the next time around, and I think it'll be a little different. Plus I guess is out now. I think he's out for a little while.
Yeah, that's a shame. I have a few of his rookie cards. I guess PSA, I forgot that they take my credit card. I don't even remember them taking my credit card information except for when I signed up for the membership. So maybe they just that makes sense that they just charge your card. But then what if your card gets declined? What if you know this is going to happen and you cancel your card, or you put a very low limit on your card? Then I'd be curious to see what happens. But yeah, congrats on your Saints bouncing back. Panthers are looking good. Bucks, Tom Brady is pissed, so that's the best thing that could ever happen.
They've got New England this week, so he's not going to lose to them.
I mean, it would be horrible if he lost. But also, the Bucks lost with the secondary being not only banged up, but the secondary has been the weakness of the Bucks, I'd say, team overall, because the guys are young, they're inexperienced, and if you don't get a good pass rush going, and they didn't rush Matt Stafford very well, then the secondary is really having to rely on their own skill set versus having to just guard receivers for 2 seconds as the quarterback throws off his back foot. And that didn't happen. Matt Stafford looked great. And I think every quarterback, well, I know Dak really put up high numbers too. So the thing is, like, if it took a banged up secondary for the Rams to win and look good, then I think that's something the Bucs can clean up over the year. I don't know if Richard Sherman will do much, but anyone's worth a shot when you have like 2 injuries, 2 of your starters injured, and the secondary wasn't even that good to begin with.
Yeah. I mean, it's like every year there's so much parity in the league. You have guys out, and it's easy to get exposed. If your secondary's banged up, then teams will throw all over you. If your pass rush isn't there, they'll run on you. It's like teams figure out a way. The NFL is brutal in that way. It's just brutal.
And that's also the other thing where it's like one loss, or even the Chiefs, right? Chiefs are 1-2. If people are freaking out about the 1-2 Chiefs, it's like, guys, remember the Bucs. I forgot what the record was for the Bucs last year, but weren't they around 500 or like even below 500, something like that, throughout the first half of the year? And then you just get on a roll. You go through the easy part of your schedule. Your guys are healthy. You have some momentum, and you're fine. I would not worry about the Chiefs or any of that. But that's also why even someone like Justin Herbert, it's still way too early to get excited. Like, maybe long term, it's like, okay, long term, I'm starting to see a guy I want to invest in at some point, but not like this season. And maybe he does turn into MVP, but the odds are not for it, and I wouldn't bank on it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I mean, Tom Brady's such a machine, and now they've just added another game to the season where it's like you have a 17 games is a long season, so you could start off 0-4 and still turn out great. It all just depends on a lot of different factors.
It wasn't it Aaron Rodgers 2 years ago when they were 4-6, and then he had that relaxed press conference where he told everyone just to calm down and relax, and then they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, 4-6 is bad in the NFL. That's like saying, all right, it's pretty much a done deal that you're not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
So like when the Chiefs are 4-6 or the Bucks are 4-6 or any team is 4-6 and they're pretty much on that last loss before getting eliminated, that's when you worry. But 17 games, we're only 3 games into the season. It's like, until the second half of the season starts, I'm not really caring too much. It's more about stay healthy.
It'll be interesting if there are good teams that struggle, if there is a big sell-off for certain players, or even just the Mahomes or the Tom Brady people, do they go ahead and take profit because they're kind of panicking, where maybe there are people that bought those cards a few years back or something, and they've been kind of riding high for a while, but then they're like, ooh, I don't want to, hold on to this if it's gonna dip, if it starts to dip, will those people go ahead and take profit that they have built in over a couple of years? That would be interesting to see. I mean, I'm always looking at those guys, but like Mahomes is priced so high. It's just hard to get excited about any of his stuff at this point. Unless he goes on a big time cold streak and people just, lose interest in him, which I don't think is going to happen. It's just like, what are you going to buy of his?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's why I like Mahomes more, because at least he has one Super Bowl appearance and one Super Bowl win, right? So it's like, and there's certain players where you're just like, look, they could have a horrible year altogether, but at least they're going to come back and be hyped and be the number one guy, and it'll be okay. And I feel like that's where I'd rather lean towards, especially with so many season-ending injuries that we see every year. Like Dak Prescott, I'd feel better about investing in Dak Prescott after his injury last year if he had won a Super Bowl already. The fact that I bought his cards, I bought at where I felt was a low price, but I'm also quick to get rid of his cards because he hasn't won yet. He hasn't won anything big yet. He's a great quarterback, still pretty young, big market, popular team, all that stuff, but that doesn't really matter if you don't win a Super Bowl. So, yeah, that's why Mahomes, I'm fine with my Mahomes purchases. I do hope the Chiefs turn it around for my own sake too, though.
Which player surprised you the most just through the first few weeks of the season? I haven't really put a lot of thought into it, but probably Justin Herbert to some degree, because I thought that he was kind of overrated coming into the season, frankly, because it's like his prices are so high, and I understand he's rookie of the year, but I kind of felt like he would come back down to earth this season, and maybe he still will. I don't know. But I thought it was impressive. I watched the end of that Chiefs Chargers game this past weekend, and he's legit, but again, it's just, he's so young, and and just where his prices are, he has surprised me a little bit. I thought that maybe he would falter some, just he's not on a great team. He's on an okay team. He's not on a top flight team.
I think that's a good pick. I want to say something different just to make it interesting. What are the Bengals? Are the Bengals 2-1?
I don't know. I think they might be 2-1. Are they 1-2 or 2-1? I think they're 2-1.
Because I remember Joe Burrow checking his prices out, or not prices, but his performance out, and his stats look good, even though I didn't see any of the Bengals play. And I think while it doesn't surprise me that he's playing well, I think
what's up, man?
Oh, man, we have a sighting, a hobby box sighting.
Sighting. It's a sighting.
What's up, Boris?
What's up, man? Hope you're doing good.
Hope you're doing well, man. I think you're a new father by now. You should be a new father, so congratulations if that's the case. But I think because Burrow, I don't know if they got an offensive lineman in the draft. If they used it, because I thought there was a lot of I forgot. But either way, it looks like he's playing well, and I thought that they had a lot of weapons, but not enough protection for him. So I didn't expect him to play as well. But if they're 1-2, then obviously that's not the case. I just thought they were 2-1.
I think they're 2-1. I thought they won the first game and then they just won against the Steelers on Sunday. The first game, I'm pretty sure they won. I can't remember who they played against.
Well, maybe it's also the fact that he came back from his injury less than a year and a half later, because I remember that original report was something like he could be out for up to a year and a half, where he might not even play until week 8 or 9 of this season. And so he's playing, already. Looks like he's playing good and doesn't seem to have any issues with his legs. And I mean, I haven't watched the games, but if Cincinnati's winning, then I'm obviously surprised by Joe Burrow.
Bama, I like what I'm seeing so far as he's really trying hard, Jameis, to limit his mistakes. You can see it. The only problem, though, is there are times where he hesitates too much because you can just see it. He kind of just hesitates. He doesn't want to make a mistake when in reality, if he had probably thrown that ball, he would have been fine, but now it's really in his head of like, I just need to manage this game, not make any huge mistakes, and everything's going to be fine. And our defense is good enough to where, and our defense and our running game is good enough to where he can get away with that on this team. He really can. I mean, if everyone is, available and play, I mean, we can win games like that. I don't think that Sean Payton, unless we're down by a huge margin, I don't think that he's going to have Jameis sling it around, unless it's like we're down by 3 touchdowns and we got to throw to win or something and be like, all right, go ahead. But yeah, I just don't see it. Our team is built differently.
And I was going to say, I saw a comment in there. Let me see who it was. And it was so obvious. Yeah, Matt Stafford and LA Rams, that has been a huge surprise. So that would have been an obvious one that I missed. Yeah, Lawrence.
Yeah.
That's an incredible surprise because Matt Stafford, it's like some markets, Jacksonville, New York, especially the Jets, used to be Cincinnati and Cleveland and Detroit and Oakland just used to be like these pits where careers go to die. And it looks like Matt Stafford's finally out of that pit. And, he's doing well here in LA. So congrats to him. But the other thing I was going to ask you, in terms of Jameis Winston, he's like throwing for 110 yards a game, which is embarrassingly low. However, if and when Michael Thomas comes back, do you think that changes?
Yeah. I mean, when do you think he's going to start slinging it?
Yeah. As in, would he have like, okay, now I could throw it deep down the field. I just didn't trust myself or these receivers, or it's too early in the season.
Yeah.
However,
right.
now
I think that's a good point. I think second half of the year, he's going to open it up a little bit more. Also just getting used to the playbook more and getting used to, like, we don't have Michael Thomas. Like here's the other thing is we don't have an amazing receiving core. Like the main guy he's throwing to is Marquez Callaway, second-year guy. He's a young guy. Like we don't have the same receiving core that he had in Tampa. Yeah. We don't. I mean, it's not as good. I think once we get Michael Thomas back, I think it'll open some things up, assuming he can stay healthy. With Michael Thomas being that kind of third down possession receiver, it opens everything up down the field, and that's where we'll get like Harris on those deep balls. And I think just the fact that Jameis can hit those deep balls, it keeps the defense honest, to where it probably opens up the running game. It opens up other things. So he's just got to make the right choices and the right reads.
Of course, yeah.
All right, guys. We're at 1 hour and 13 minutes. On the East Coast, it's 10:15. I've got kids. Brad doesn't, but he's still tired.
I gotta pee. That's a priority too.
Brad's got to pee. So we're gonna wrap it up. Thank you very much for joining us here. We'll be back on Brad's channel next week, Wednesday night. Remember, it's Wednesday night instead of Thursday as we get through football season. But thank you very much for joining us here. It was good. It was good catching up and seeing you guys in the chat. Brad, anything else you want to add in?
Yeah, go on over to Flipping Steve's channel and then comment say, Steve, do your live streams only on Mondays. Don't interfere with Dustin and Brad's, but also give them a thumbs up as well.
Absolutely. Good guy and Flipping Steve. All right, guys. We will talk to you again later. Take care.
See you guys.